Hey, my friends, it is March 17th, 2024, and it's been forever since we were on here and did a video. But today, Kaylee and I decided to sit down and finally get the first one in the books. And what are we going to talk about, Kay?
Our failures and successes that were from the last year. We tried some things out, and some things did not grow.
That's right. We tried some new things that we've never tried before, and some of them grew and some of them didn't. So first of all, we're going to talk about what we consider our very biggest failure. And what was that, Kay?
Let's see here.
Uh-huh.
Our biggest failure were Brussels sprouts.
They were our biggest failure. And they were so pretty when they started growing, weren't they? Great big.
Yes.
Yes.
But then when we harvest them a little too late.
We did harvest them, I think, a little too late.
And when me and my family went and ate them, they were disgusting.
They were disgusting. The Brussels sprouts that Brianne picked down on my mom's garden early in the season, they were delicious. However, we were a little late harvesting ours because, quite honestly, I don't think we knew when we were supposed to harvest them. And they were full of bugs. And we cleaned them really good, and we blanched them, and we froze them. But when Brianne and Kaylee got the Brussels sprouts out to eat, they were
disgusting and gross.
Disgusting and gross. And so all of that time and all that effort went into the trash can.
Yes.
But we found some things out about those Brussels sprouts. We found out that when the Brussels sprouts were put in a raised bed with something else, what happened to the other stuff?
All this other stuff did not grow because we found found some research, and the Brussels sprouts are very, very heavy drinkers and eaters, and when we put in so much nutrients in those plants and the Brussels sprouts and that water, and the Brussels sprouts just took it from all the other plants.
That's what the problem was. Those Brussels sprouts are heavy eaters, and if they were in a raised bed, we tried them in raised beds with some other squash, and some cucumbers, and some, what were the other things? Cantaloupe. Anything that those Brussels sprouts were in, the other
stuff did not grow.
Yeah, the other stuff did not grow. And quite honestly, we are never going to grow Brussels sprouts again. Mm-hmm. If Brianne wants to, she's just going to have to go to the store and buy the Brussels sprouts already in a bag, because I'm just not going to take that much effort for not being able to be successful in growing.
We should have researched when we were supposed to harvest them.
We should have researched when we were supposed to harvest them. And that's really good, Kaylee. That's really smart information on anything that you grow. You should do a little research on it if you have never grown it before, and figure out what it is, what it's going to take. Can it be with different companion plants, or does it have companion plants? Does it have plants that it can't be with? Is it a heavy feeder? Is it a heavy drinker? And are they going to be successful in your area? And one of the things I want to talk about when we're talking about the areas right now, the USDA has changed the area categories. And so we used to be a B5, and they've changed us over to a 6A for the planting zones. I'm not going to change mine. I'm going to stay at the B5, because that when you go from a 5 to a 6, you pretty much say that it's never going to freeze, never going to go, I mean, not never going to freeze, but it's not going to go below 15 degrees below zero. And we sometimes get a lot colder than that. So I'm just going to continue and get plants that will grow in the category 5, and that way I'm safe. But we've got another thing that was kind of a failure last year, and what was that? No, we're not going to just put that up there. Kaylee thinks we should just put the list up there and let you read it yourselves, but we're not going to do that. We planted some heirloom tomatoes last year.
Yes, and they were super delicious, but they were failure.
they were a failure. And I think we have three different reasons why they were a failure. First of all, the plants were some of the last tomatoes that we planted, that we took out of the greenhouse, and they were too leggy. And I think that we got maybe 4 or 5 tomatoes off of probably 5 or 6, 7 plants. And I just can't have a garden that takes that much effort. Since it's raised bed, it's not unlimited amounts of area that you can
Yeah,
grow in.
we don't want a garden that we put so much effort and it goes in the trash.
And it goes in the trash. I had decided we were not going to do any more heirloom tomatoes, but Brianne wants to try some. She's going to try. I'll tell you a little bit about the heirloom tomatoes that we are going to try, just for Brianne. And if they don't work this year, Brianne has to plant the entire garden by herself next year, right?
Yes.
Right.
With my help.
Oh, with your help. Okay. So the cantaloupe. We had such a tough time with cantaloupe this year. One of the things...
Not this year, last year.
Last year. I started cantaloupe seeds. The plants were beautiful. I put them into the raised bed. They died. And then I went to nursery and I got some cantaloupe plants and they died. And so I don't know, we're going to try some more cantaloupe, but we're going to be a little bit more particular. Get your toes out of the video, out of where we're going to put them and how much effort we're going to put into them as well. But we also have to have a short growing season cantaloupe, which means that they're going to be smaller. They're not going to be those great big monsters that we can get from Green River, Utah. I need my book, please. Kaylee is just being a little knick-knack now. Here, come on, Kay. We're wasting our time. Okay, you ready? All right. Another failure that we had were the cucumbers. I think part of it was because they were in a bed with the Brussels sprouts, and part of it is because I don't think I fed them enough. Our cucumbers did not grow. They struggled the whole entire season. The same thing with some of our squash. I had some in a bed with the Brussels sprouts. I don't think they got enough nutrients because I only had a handful of winter squash. One of the other problems I think we had when we were planting our winter squash was that we planted them in short beds. I have some brand new beds this year that are only about 12 inches deep. And I think that most of the plants that we planted in there, the tomatoes did okay. Probably not as well as they did in the deeper beds, but they did okay. But the squash didn't. I guess they just don't like that. So we probably won't put them in that area again. Cabbages. So I have one area, one grow box that is kind of shaded by a currant bush. And I've planted peppers in there at other times, and they've grown like crazy. They really like that. But we decided to put cabbages in there when we rotated our crops last year. The cabbages did not like that at all. I've got to put the cabbages in some place that have full sun, probably 8 hours a day. And because I know that's what I've done before, and the cabbages grew really well. So cabbages go in another bed. And we learned that our cabbages only got to be about this big. It was just a waste of time. Okay.
Oh, where's the heirlooms?
The what?
Heirlooms.
Right there. We've already talked about them.
Okay, so
Okay.
I put these.
And we've talked about the short grow buds.
Is this the heirloom tomatoes?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because when I put it,
She likes to make little checks after we've talked about something.
Yes, I'm gonna put Grandma. I'm gonna put a dot
Okay.
in front of the words.
Okay. Now we want to talk about the successes we had in our garden this year.
Yes, one of them were watermelon. They were super delicious. They grew well, and we put so much effort into them.
We did put a little bit of effort into them, didn't we, Kaylee? This year I have some half oak barrel planters out there in the garden, and this year we went ahead and we put the watermelon in them. Last year, and they grew really, really well, but we had to feed them quite heavily just because they were in a shorter area. And the vines on those watermelons kind of grew out and over, which was just fine. And where we put them, they weren't in our way at all. And we just continued to let them grow. And so we will plant watermelon again, but it's going to be the sugar babies, just like we did last year, because those were really good.
Yes.
How
about the carrots? The carrots were super delicious. Me and my brother could take them out and just wash them in the canning shed and eat them.
That was the first time that we've ever planted carrots, and we will do that again. I think that this year we're going to plant some of those that are shorter variety so that they will do better in those shorter grow beds.
Yes, and also so me and my brother can eat them out of the grow bed.
Yes, so her and her brother can eat them out of the garden.
But we were trying to not let my brother drown the plants.
Oh, yes. We're not going to let Baylor water the plants again. And the reason why is because last year he drowned
them.
So that we learned
that
a lot of
was a
things.
big failure too. My brother drowning the plants.
Okay. Onions. Hannah, our onions did really, really well. And we had enough that we freeze dried some, and we did all the cooking that we needed onions for in the canning shed. We're done with onions for our garden. And also Brianne had some down to her place, and she used them in her cooking all summer long. So we will grow onions again. We're pretty excited about them. Other than I'm not going to grow 3 different varieties. I'm just going to grow yellow onions. The purple ones did okay. Maybe a little bit better than okay. The onions did pretty well, and I like a purple onion in some of the recipes I have, and I like it on salad or on sandwiches. So we probably will plant a few of those, but mostly we're just planting yellow onions. So because those are the ones we can with anyway. One other of our successes were our pepper plants, and we planted all of our pepper plants in the great big metal watering trough feeder that I have, or planter that I have. It is about 10 feet across. It's big, and sometimes I kind of have to crawl in there to plant or to harvest from the middle ones. What?
Let's use the peppers right here.
Yep. But the peppers did really, really well, and we did jalapeno peppers, green sweet peppers, some yellow wax peppers, which were really good too, and then Anaheims. And we're going to go ahead and plant all of those again this year too, because we did really well with them.
Yeah, and the reason that even though some people that live here in my family do not like spicy, I do not, so that's why we planted sweet peppers.
That's right. Kaylee doesn't like anything spicy.
Except my mom's fry sauce.
So your mom's what? Fry sauce?
Yes, because she puts hot sauce in it.
She puts hot sauce in her fry sauce. The last thing that we did different last year that was really a big success, was growing our zucchini vertically instead of horizontally. My friend of mine, Cody, told me about that she had been doing it the last few years, and she'd had success with it, and so we tried it, and it worked so good. We could see the fruit when they came on, and I don't think I had very many zucchini that got to be really big that we couldn't use and had to feed to the chickens, just because I could see the fruit on them. I also did not have as many squash bugs as I've had in the past. And I think that's because it was so much easier, because there were no leaves that were hiding underneath. I could look at all the leaves every day and make sure that if they were even starting, I could take the eggs off.
If you plant zucchini, some days you have to check for zucchini bugs.
You're right. Kaylee loves to check for zucchini bugs, but she likes to show me them so I can squish them. She doesn't like to squish them. Okay, so those were, those were our failures and what we've considered to be our successes this year. Right now, we're looking at some things that we decided yesterday about the seeds we're going to grow. And that's one of the things we're going to go over next in our next video is, how do you find your seeds? What seeds do you want to grow? Do you want to grow seeds? Do you want to just go to the nursery and pick the plants up that have already been done? So those are all questions that we'll kind of talk about. But as for right now, Kaylee and I are going to say bye. You guys, we are on our way to another fantastic year in the garden. And Kaylee is grown up a little bit more. Probably she's a head taller than she was last year. And she's going to help me so much more this year. And I'm so looking forward to
And
it.
we're trying to not put my melon water ever again.
Okay. All right. We'll talk to you soon.